Imagine if there was a filament as strong as CF nylon but as easy to print as PETG. Well, this might just be it. It's called PBT. And I decided to try it out in the most brutal environment I know. I built a combat robot out of it. In this video I'll show you how to print it, how it behaves, and one tiny wincy little flaw you might want to be aware of. Let's get started. Some time ago I made a video praising TPU for its incredible ability to absorb impacts in combat robotics, and I've used TPU since then in heaps of builds. Most recently I built this little monstrosity Dead Cat Bounce using a particularly hard 64D TPU from 4AM. It worked pretty well, but it was really pricey. Oh, and then 4AM filed for insolvency. So I was looking for alternatives online when I discovered CC3D on Amazon. You know, CC3D. No? Well, I hadn't heard of them either, but they had a 72D Shore Hardness TPU, which is one of the stiffest TPUs I've ever come across. But they also have this, CC3D PBT PRO Filament Black, blah 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 blah. The listing claims that this filament is made from PBT and a glass fiber composite with special polymerization modification, whatever that means. But the main draw card is they state that it has a toughness of about 6 times that of PLA, which is pretty tough indeed. The printability looks really good too. It has a low printing temperature, which is close to PLA, and a heat resisting temperature of the printed products that they claim to reach 130 degrees C under condition of no force. I'll be testing that. Oh, and by the way, it only costs $30 dues shipped for a kilo. I will be exploring the very odd 72D TPU in a future project, but as soon as this PBT filament arrived, it was instantly apparent that it's vastly different from your regular 3D printing materials. I've never really seen anything like it. It's reasonably stiff, but you can't break the filament by hand, no matter how long you twist or how hard you pull, which is pretty interesting. But what the heck is PBT anyway? PBT, or polybutylene terephthalate, is similar in many ways to PET, or polyethylene terephthalate, but I've not seen it used in 3D printing until now. What I have seen is polycarbonate blended with PBT to make it an easier to print yet incredibly tough filament, but that blend still has polycarbonate in it, which requires a filament dryer and a high print bed temperature and heated enclosure to avoid warping. This stuff, on the other hand, it printed beautifully on my Bambu Lab A1 Mini. To stiffen it up, CC3D has added glass fibers to the mix, which do indeed give the filament that frosted appearance in their words. It's a little rough, but nowhere near as bad as some carbon fiber nylons, and my first test print was done using a PETG material preset for the A1 Mini within Orca Slicer. All I did was shift the bed temperature up to 70 degrees Celsius, and it printed beautifully on the textured PEI print surface. I even tried printing with support material, both snug and organic support structures, and they worked amazingly well and broke away with very little effort. And yes, I'm fully aware that the A1 and A1 Mini ship from factory without a hardened steel nozzle. They have a stainless steel nozzle, and it will wear slowly over time with the glass-filled fibers in the PBT, but I haven't noticed any degradation as yet, and in any case, getting a spare nozzle, a hardened steel or stainless steel one for the A1 and A1 Mini is very easy and inexpensive, so I just sent it. So I'm really curious to see what the temperature resistance of this PBT glass fill filament is compared to something like PLA. So I've got some boiling water. I'm going to pour it into these 2 oversized shot glasses. We've got one made from PLA. You know how that's going to act. And then one made from the PBT glass fill from CC3D. I'm going to try touching it. You can already tell that the PLA is very soft indeed, just from that initial contact with boiling water for a minute or so. How about the PBT? So it's a little bit more softer, but it's springing back to its original shape. No problem. Whereas the PLA, yeah, you can see how PLA acts with boiling water. And even in a hot car, PLA will deform like this. It has a really, really low glass transition temperature. Whereas with this PBT filament, it's definitely softer, but it's springing back to its original shape. So that's really good to know. It's really hard to describe how this PBT filament feels. It's definitely a lot more rigid than any of the TPUs I've tried out, but it's still a lot softer than a PLA would be, and especially a carbon fiber nylon. Like, it's got this sort of rubbery sort of vibe to it, and it's a little bit more flexible, even though it's got those glass fibers to it. But it prints really, really cleanly with that sort of shiny surface from the glass fibers. And although this filament feels really tough in the hand, and some of my early practical prints using it have performed really well, I want to know how much abuse this material can take, so I decided to do what I know best. I built a combat robot out of it. This is Death Ray, my design for an ant-weight combat robot to compete at the UNSW ant-weight competition in March. I know many of you are waiting patiently for an updated build of Dead Cat Bounce, but consider this robot a side quest. It's a bundle of experiments I wanted to conduct first. With Dead Cat Bounce, I learned the hard way that exposed wheels are a bad idea, because even if they're soft and squishy, they'll just get torn right off. But this robot is super tall, so how do you go about fitting a huge enclosed wheel? Well, by having a stack of wheels, that's how. This geared wheel arrangement is highly experimental, and my attempt at keeping the wheels protected in a tiny footprint, while also protecting the gear motors and providing the height required for invertibility. There's a heavyweight battlebot called Triton, which has a similar vertical wheel arrangement, so I decided to hash out my own version of the concept. I used a simple spur gear stack with the N10 gear motor in the center and these tiny little wheels riding on M2 bolts. Each wheel has 2 tiny O-rings as tread, and these components, like the rest of the bot, were printed from the PBT PRO filament on the A1 Mini. At the business end is a 1406 brushless motor, and these are the weapon blades for Death Ray, and they're pretty interesting. They're made from old saw blades, the hardened steel kind that don't use carbide teeth. I found that the steel in these old saw blades makes for really good thin blades that can cut through the TPU armor that many robots have these days. But what if you don't have access to antique saw blades or a CNC mill to machine them? Well, this video's sponsor, PCBWay, can help. PCBWay is your one-stop shop for printed circuit boards, CNC, 3D printing, and more, and they have an ever-growing list of materials and processes to choose from. All you need to do is upload your design. In this case, I've got the step file for my little disk, and from here you can choose your material and finish. I used PCBWay to create this incredibly intricate hub motor blade for Dead Cat Bounce, which was machined from a solid billet of grade 5 titanium. There is no way I would have been able to make this part on my own. PCBWay is celebrating their 11th anniversary right now, and you can enter into the badge design competition for a chance of winning up to $500 cash and $300 for PCBWay services. They've also provisioned me a handful of coupon codes, so you can save up to $10 on an order of $30 or more by simply entering PCBWay Makers Muse 2025 to redeem it. So if you're interested in using that coupon code or entering their 11th anniversary badge competition, you can find more information in the video description below. Thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. I recently switched over to Orca Slicer for all of my printing, and the project for Death Ray's frame uses all the features this slicer has to offer in order to cut the weight down as much as possible, while retaining some degree of structural integrity. The overall frame is only one thick perimeter with a 5% crosshatch infill, but I've used modifiers to increase the infill significantly in areas that need it. This means that areas around the bolt holes or the front and rear armor sections are almost 100% solid to give them more strength on impact. I go into way more depth about modifiers in this video, by the way, if you're interested. And this is the printed result. I don't know if it's the texture of the filament, but isn't it a bit nuts how clean this stuff prints? Support material pulls away easily, and the layer lines are really consistent and concise. And again, it's got this really odd flex to it. It's much more rigid than TPU, but far more flexible than PLA and especially carbon fiber nylon. But I know better than to send a brand new bot straight into combat, so I set up a polycarb test box in the garage and took Death Ray for a test against a range of materials. We've got PLA+, 64D TPU, and of course PBT glass fill from CC3D. Time for some carnage. Yep, that's why you only test combat robots with polycarbonate barriers. Some massive impacts in that test, and I kind of love how the bot gets stuck in this gyro death spiral of sparks. It's totally drivable apart from that. But what was the damage done? For PLA+, the thicker walled chassis had some chunks torn out, but no delamination. The thinner chassis had some really deep gouges cut into it, but structural integrity was still mostly intact, but I think the bot would have probably stopped working. And the 64D TPU frames were already a little battle damaged, but I don't think I did that much to them at all because I couldn't get much of a bite. The PBT frame, however, oh dear. It's completely ripped in half, top to bottom. Now, granted, it is incredibly thin with almost no infill, but it seems that despite being a lot tougher than PET-G, PBT still suffers from the same brittle failure that occurs at high speed. This is really disappointing because in all of my previous tests just by hand, the filament feels so tough and it bends instead of cracking, but it seems just at these really high speed impacts, it can't move away out of the way in time and seems to go through a brittle style failure and just shatter and crack apart. Thankfully, the bot is mega underweight, a first for me, so I quickly printed up a thicker frame with a little additional armor and, just to be safe, a spare chassis in 95A TPU, material that I know for a fact can take the abuse. The UNSW Robot Royale is an awesome event hosted in a fantastic venue, and my first opponent was Midnight Sun, built by Jordan from Obviously Robotics. This is a nasty vertical spinner that I really didn't want to get hit by, but thankfully for me, he was having driving issues in this fight, so I was doing my best to negotiate around to the back of his robot and try to snipe a wheel, and this is how that fight went.
So you don't want to be facing away from this. Oh no. There goes one. He's still got way through the one. Oh, there's a four. He's tapping out. Radio. Death Ray's your winner.
There's no question that if Midnight Sun had been able to get a good hit on my frame, it would have all been over, but luckily I was able to avoid it. The next fight, however, a direct impact was more or less inevitable. This is Lightweaver, built by James Blue, and it has an even larger horizontal blade than Death Ray, so it's guaranteed to hit first, and it's made from razor sharp 0.8mm titanium. Because of my previous tests, I kind of knew how the PBT would behave, but I couldn't have predicted how this fight actually went.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. Death Ray's your winner.
So yeah, winning because your opponent got stuck isn't how I intended to start this competition, but hey, I'll take it. Especially considering that that single exchange took out one of my drive sides. And my worst fears were realized in the pits. PBT does not like to be hit directly at high speeds. The corner was just missing, and that's why the gear wheel on that side disengaged and I couldn't drive properly. It's interesting as well, the impact didn't just delaminate across the layer lines, it sort of just shattered at the impact side. But what if you could wrap a shock-absorbing soft layer around a structural PBT in a chassis, because you can't build an entire robot out of floppy TPU. So I swapped the main frame for TPU, but kept all the other components PBT, and after a few casual fights where nothing much happened, I came up against one of the most destructive ant weights to be built in Australia so far. DES, or Dynamic Event Simulation, built by James Kirby from Broken Link Robotics. James is already building quite a reputation with his robots, and this tiny TPU-framed robot holds a vertical blade made from hardened steel, weighing 1/3 of the robot's entire weight. This fight was incredible. Hold on to your butts.
3, 2, 1, go!
Whoa! What just happened? Whoa!
Oh, that mode is so cool.
Oh, that was loud.
Yeah, I see why you wanted to slow mo this fight. Jesus.
Oh no, that's a hypercut.
recording.
It's spinning. It's not spinning anymore. Boing, 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 boing. You got protection for this. Oh no, that's a bite, 1.5. Oh, that's better.
Oh, you can tell.
I don't know. Because I've been trying to get my dumb robot. Oh, it's spinning again! Oh! Yeah, James will just turn the weapon off. Oh! 5, 4, 3. Oh, Angus is on the peg. Oh, you got away. 1. Just in time. James, I'm turning the weapon off. Yes. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Yeah, there he goes. Oh, no one. Oh, that's what just one guy, right? Neither of them. Oh, no.
Oh, you're going to weapon again.
It is so dangerous. It is so dangerous to do anything in here. Oh, that's a good 15 seconds remaining. Oh, the weapon spun up. Oh! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it.
At the end, it came down to a judge's decision and DES rightfully won, but this thing kept going. The disc literally bent and jammed to the frame from the impacts, then got hit and unbent again so it could keep spinning. The TPU armor did its job beautifully, absorbing impacts and making sure the internal components didn't get damaged, but they were held in place by the PBT parts that did not fail. Yes, it might not have won, but it didn't stop, and that is incredibly valuable data. So after all of that, what's my final verdict on this very interesting filament from CC3D? Well, yes, it may fail spectacularly in extreme circumstances, but it's a material that can print on an open frame printer that performs so far above and beyond your regular PLA Plus, and it costs what, $30 a kilo? I may have stocked up on a few rolls before making this video because I suspect it'll be the perfect choice for many, many projects. Let me know in the comments below if you've used PBT in any of its various permutations in your projects and what you thought of it, or if you know of another interesting filament you'd like me to check out. Definitely leave in the comments below because I read every single one. And no, CC3D did not sponsor this video, PCBWay did. I don't think C3D even knows I exist, and they certainly didn't send me this roll of filament. I chose it myself, just browsing on Amazon, and all of my thoughts and experiments and tests that you've seen are my own. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.